Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. I want to welcome Mr. Elton John to the show. How's it
Oh,
going,
thank
Elton?
you. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Love all my people here.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I saw Bill come on Zoom with that hat, the first thing I thought was Elton John from like 76. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we
Don't
are
go breaking
uh,
my heart.
there we go. I wouldn't if I tried. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, jokes aside, we are here to do another episode of New Music Discovery. Now, the band that we're going to be talking about today is a band from Los Angeles, California, considered alternative rock. But these days, I would say alternative to what, right? I mean, there's so many genres out there. The band in the spotlight today for New Music Discovery is Concrete Blonde. Okay. And the album that we are discussing today is their debut self-titled release. Now, as you saw on the cover there, they start out as a trio fronted by Jeanette Napolitano on lead vocals, fantastic sultry vocalist, and fantastic bass player. And I would say a majority songwriter for the band, followed closely by Jim Menke, who I do believe is the guitarist for the band. Now, myself, I only have one album from them, which is called Bloodletting, which I talked about before, featuring the hit Joey, and that was a pretty sizable hit for the band in around 1990. But I will pass over the virtual mic to Mr. Bill Schuster, not Elton John, because he is a major fan of Concrete Blonde. So, Bill, take it away.
All right. I am curious to hear your thoughts on this. I could give a bit of a brief, more background. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, as you said, John Ed is the primary member or the primary songwriter, though Jim Mankey also has some assorted credits here and there.
Hmm.
And he is absolutely almost as important to the band as Johnette herself, if not equally important, because his guitar is a very distinctive part of their sound. Here we had their initial drummer, Harry Rushikoff, who was in and out of the band multiple times over the years, but he's here on the initial album. Um, just to give a little background, I want to give a brief reading of an All Music Guide review.
Okay.
Um, this is by William Ruhlman. Uh, says with the addition of a new drummer, Jim Mankey and Johnnette Napolitano's Dream Six became Concrete Blonde, but the changes did nothing to bring musical focus to the partnership. When this debut album was released, IRS Records emphasized the track Still in Hollywood, financing a video and promoting it to radio. The song borders on punk rock as Mankey repeats the same riff over and over, and Napolitano spits out the angry lyric like Exene Cervenka, except, of course, she's careful to stay on key. But the song's message is confused. Most aspiring stars try to get to Hollywood, no? Even more confused is the multiplicity of musical styles that demonstrated that Concrete Blonde's main characteristic was ambition, not talent.
Hmm.
Napolitano didn't much care if she became the next Chrissy Hind or the next Pat Benatar, as long as she became the next something. Now, mind you, by the time I read this review in one of the editions of the All Music Guide, I had been a fan of this album for probably 7, 8 years at least. I got into it in '87, the year after it came out. But I read this review. I wanted to hunt down William Ruhlman and said, look, buddy, let me tell you the ways you're wrong.
Hmm.
Uh, some of the things I think he really missed the point of here. Not everyone is trying to get to Hollywood. There's a lot of artists out there that are doing this for the art. It's not necessarily about trying to become a celebrity in every case.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
As to this day, Johnette, well, she's a painter and a general creative artist. You know, Concrete Blonde is long done as a band,
Yeah.
but she's still off doing her own thing, not making great amounts of money, not having major celebrity or anything, but continuing to serve her muse. So I think he really missed the point there. Uh, And in particular, the idea that this multiplicity of styles is a bad thing. No, not at all. Not
No.
everybody needs to be AC/DC, to give the stereotypical example. Uh, to me, when I heard this album, one of the things I liked about it was the fact that all the songs didn't sound alike, that there were multiple styles. I appreciate artists like that. I mean, that's why I love bands like Queen, like the Beatles. I mean, that's, you know. So, yeah, William Ruhlman, no, no, just no.
See,
You
I
miss
would,
people. Do
sorry,
it.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say I would add, yes, he said, okay, he mentioned Chrissy Hine and he mentioned Pat Benatar. I would throw in there also just a bit of Patti Smith, just a bit, right? Just like not overly so. You know what I mean? But just a little bit. And I like that. I like that, you know. Um,
Maybe
but
even a little bit of this lady.
no, true enough. True enough. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, it's fine. I've just that is one of those reviews that has been stuck in my craw for decades now. So anytime this album comes up, I think of that review and how far off the mark he was. And here we are reviewing things, and are we any better? I don't know. Y'all be the judge of that. But
Well, I
no,
mean, just a little, put a little perspective on it. When the first Queen album came out, one of the reviews said, one thing is clear, in a year's time, Queen will not be around anymore. That was 1973. So deal with it.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
So when this album initially came out, I kind of came into it accidentally. Like I said, the following year, I had never heard of them, had no idea of a band called Dream Six, which was their name prior to this album. They actually got their band name from IRS label mate Michael Stipe from REM. He's the
Yeah,
one that suggested Concrete Blonde. And yeah, so I had no idea who this was. My aunt gave me this cassette. She didn't know who they were. It was one that she'd been gifted and she passed it on. And so for the next 3 years, I knew absolutely nothing about this band. Never saw any articles. I just had the original cassette. And on the CD here, it has a track called "It'll Chew You Up and Spit You Out" at
yeah,
the
which is
end.
an alternate version of Still in Hollywood.
Yeah, that was not on the original album. It was not on the cassette version that I bought. So I didn't check that out until a number of years later on the Still in Hollywood compilation. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, this it stuck with me. I listened to it over and over and over. Well, it was
Well,
my number two album of 1986 for those of you who were around when we did our albums for
top
each
five
year.
of 1980, yeah, top five of
Yeah,
the 80s, yeah. Um, my question to you is, I'll give you my opinion after, but what was it about Concrete Blonde, about this album that drew you in musically? Like, was it the music? Was it the attitude? Was it the overall package of Johnette or what? I mean,
all of the above. Well, yeah, Johnette. I'll come back to Johnette because obviously she's the centerpiece. She's the star. But I
yeah,
did want to make sure to talk about James Mankey because, as I said, he is very important to the band's sound. His guitar playing. I kind of think of Jim Mankey as he's not a flashy guy. He's not an Yngwie Malmsteen, anything like that. He is a tonal painter, basically. He paints pictures with his sounds. He comes up with cool, haunting backgrounds. I mean, he can still do riffs and chug along if he needs to, rock out a bit, but that's not really his main thing. He just has, though he doesn't sound like them, he does the kind of things that David Gilmour and The Edge do. He supports the songs with all his different guitar sounds
yeah.
rather than trying to say, hey, look at me, I can play 1,000 notes a minute.
Hmm.
and his guitar sound is very much part of their personality. So yeah, if I'm glad that Johnette has never tried to put out a Concrete Blonde album without Jim. The drummers are frankly interchangeable. Nothing against Terry Rushkoff or Paul Thompson, who would join later, or Gabriel Ramirez. But really, it's Johnette and Jim. They are the core.
Yeah.
But Johnette's lyrics were a big part of it, and obviously her voice. She has this very sultry, deep, emotional voice.
She
Yep.
has a, yeah. 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 Um, I was reminded when I listened to it last night because, we agreed we were going to do this. And I listened to the album and I remembered a song. I remembered the singles True and, Still in Hollywood. What I like about Jeanette's voice is she's got this rich, sultry tone, very seductive, right? And the way in her intonation, the way she phrases her lyrics, but she's also got this slightly husky tone in her voice as well, right? And she can just pull you in into listening to it. And it's just amazing. It is amazing. Um, I mean, I can give you my opinion on this album. I mean, listening to it, it brought me back to 1986. I remember when this album came out, and on Much Music in Canada, they pushed True quite a bit, and Still in Hollywood. Um, when I like the fact that she can go from being, this sultry, seductive kind of uh, rapturous kind of a voice that she has. But then on songs like uh, Your Haunted Heart, um, sorry, Your Haunted Head, sorry. Sorry guys, only two coffees. I'm so screwed up. Your Haunted Head. She can belt it out too if she has to. She can go for the power in her voice that she has. Um, I was reminded a lot of, it brought me back to my teens. I was 16 years old when this came out. Listening to this album, it's fantastic. You have, the lead off track and the single True. And I love the drum tone on this album. The drums on this album, uh, the snare drum especially has a rich, beefier sound, right, in the production. Other songs that note of this album for me, obviously, Still in Hollywood. Uh, Song for Kim is a good one, fantastic one. I wasn't aware that they did a cover of Beware of Darkness from George Harrison on this album. Over Your Shoulder, another fantastic one. Little Sister stands out for me. Like I'm listening to her and I'm just like I'm almost in tears because I love the melody. I love the hook on Little Sister. Um, you're the only one uh you're the only one can make me cry is another good one. And yeah, I mean Cold Part of Town is another good track. These songs are not long. Are in the range between 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. So they're not very long. I think the longest track is Dance Along the Edge, which is track 3. Again, very melodic, very hooky, very memorable, um, catchy melodic songs. And I'm going to be investing. I've been looking on Amazon as to where I can get like a good copy of this at a good deal, and I'm going to be investing in some more Concrete Blonde. Um, I just think this is a fantastic album, short, relatively short, 42 minutes and 49 seconds. There's again 10 tracks on this album. The 11th track is called True 2, numeric 2, which is basically an instrumental of the lead off track. And I'll Cheer You Up and Spit You Out is a reworking of the track Still in Hollywood. So basically, there are 10 tracks on this album. Catchy, hooky, melodic, memorable, sultry vocals, fantastic bass playing from Jonette, just amazing. Um, Jim Mankey on guitar, a wizard on the guitar, just able to get fantastic, rich tones on his guitar, and again, memorable hooks. So that's my opinion of this album. You know, if I've missed anything out, go ahead.
Oh, I don't think so. I do say one of the things that Concrete Blonde, as I discovered as I followed their career album by album, they had a habit of including one cover per album in the early years.
Okay, yeah,
So, and
yeah,
in many cases, even if I was roughly familiar with an artist's catalog, the Concrete Blonde version was often the version I heard first. So this was actually, even though I grew up, I mean, from childhood as listening to the Beatles, and I'm a huge Beatles fan, I don't recall ever having heard the song Beware of Darkness prior to this Concrete Blonde album. So this is my version of Beware of Darkness. It's still my favorite
yeah,
over George Harrison's original, over the Spock's Beard cover, which is also quite good. I think they really make this song their own. They don't change a lot from the original, but it just fits what they're doing so well.
yeah,
Their
yeah.
whole vibe here. Like,
It just Go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, my fault, my fault. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm getting ready to go to another song. So if you're,
No, I was just gonna say the lyrics on the in these songs, it to me it seems like they're just, or that she's just, and so is Jim Menke, that they're just taking from their experiences of growing up in Los Angeles, right? And putting them down in song. You know what I mean? I find that she has a very hypnotic voice when you listen to her. Um, I mean, she is. I should also note she was a fan of the Vampire Chronicles from Anne Rice, right? So very much like Anne Rice, who pull you in with her, Interview with the Vampire and the Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned. Like she has that effect on you, or on me anyway, right? Um, and I'm surprised I mean, they were successful, but I'm surprised that they weren't as bigger than what they were. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
I
how
know
many
what you
albums do they have?
It depends on how you count. There were initially five albums. The debut, Free, Bloodletting, which was their big hit album with Joey on it, the one big
Mhm.
hit single. Then Walking in London and Mexican Moon, that was their original five. Then they did the Still in Hollywood compilation, actually came out after they broke up initially, but it has a lot of unreleased songs on it. So it's almost kind of an album itself.
Mhm.
They did this, Jonette and Jim got back together in '97, did this collaboration with Los Iligos, a Chicano punk band,
Oh my God.
which is an odd sort of combo. It's
Yeah.
largely in Spanish, so it's not a traditional Concrete Blonde album, but it is technically part of their catalog. Then
It's Concrete Blonde with a twist.
yes, very much. They got back together in 2002 with the original lineup, including Harry on drums for Group Therapy, and then in 2004 with a totally new drummer, Gabriel Ramirez, they put out their last official album, Mojave, which is a very stripped down sort of album. It's a very old, haunted Americana West sort of. They even have a cover of Ghost Riders in the Sky on it. So it's taking their goth type stuff into new territories. But sadly, yeah, this is 20 years later. This is still the final
Yeah.
studio album from the band.
Mhm.
There's been assorted side projects, but that's the official studio catalog for the band though.
Okay. Just
7, 8.
Yeah. So basically, like pretty much like the Tea Party, 8 albums. Yeah. Okay. So just a quick question. As a gateway into, as an intro into the band, what album would you recommend uh,
Um,
for our new fan?
it's kind of a cliche, but Bloodletting. It's probably the easiest to find, and obviously it was their most successful. So that must mean that there are enough hooks in that album to draw people in. If you like Bloodletting, I'd say go either direction. You can go to the first two albums, or you can go to the next two. Walking in London kind of continues that sound of Bloodletting to a degree, and then yeah, the fifth one, Mexican Moon, uh, really alters things a bit.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it adds a whole lot of new sounds in there.
Okay.
So, but I mean, if there's one to follow up Bloodletting with, I think probably be this one.
Okay. So first Bloodletting in, then go back to the debut.
Yeah, not necessarily saying that any of them are radically better than the other, but yeah, they're good starting points. There's enough. I think there's enough on this album that people who like Bloodletting would find familiar and able to draw them in. There's enough hooks on here.
Yeah. No, definitely. 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 Well, yeah, I all I can say is I think that I think this is a fantastic album. I will be looking into getting my own copy. You can get this on Amazon. I found a copy that I can get for like 8.99. Uh, so I'm going to be doing that. You can also get this on uh, Discogs. You can also on eBay, and you can stream it on YouTube. Right? Again, don't take our word for it, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to the albums yourselves, and you know, and make your own mind up as to what you like, what you don't like. That's the good thing
Absolutely.
about discovering new music. Some things you like, some things you're like, well, okay, it's not really for me, but there you go. Um, so there you have it, guys. Our lead off episode on new music discovery on Concrete Blonde. I want to thank Bill Schuster for joining me on this episode. We are going to be tackling Concrete Blonde like we did Joe Jackson. So our next episode on Concrete Blonde will be discussing their sophomore release, Free. And there you go. There you go. And we're going to be going through each of the albums as we go through these episodes. So again, please stay tuned for that. And hopefully you find something new to listen to and discover some new music that you can add to your collection. So again, I want to thank Mr. Bill Schuster for helping me out with this episode. And please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. We will be back in a few minutes with an album discussion on Renaissance, Scheherazade, and other stories. So
Another
please stay
band
tuned
with a
for that.
very strong female singer.
Yes, another very strong female singer. We'll get to
Yep.
that when we come back, ladies and gentlemen. So we will see you soon with another episode. Bye for now.